The story of Britain starts a long, long time ago, even before anyone wrote anything down. We know people lived here as far back as 800,000 years ago. One big mystery from this time is Stonehenge, this amazing circle of giant stones built around 2,500 years before Jesus was born. Still makes people wonder how and why it was built. We don't know for sure what it was for, but it shows how clever those early Britons were. In 55 BCE, Julius Caesar, a famous Roman leader, brought his soldiers to Britain. This was the start of Rome's interest in Britain, but it wasn't until 43 CE that Emperor Claudius launched a full-on invasion. The Romans faced tough fighters in the Celtic tribes who lived here, but they eventually took over most of England and Wales. Roman rule changed Britain a lot. They built roads and towns and brought Christianity to the island. Hadrian's Wall, built in the north, showed everyone how powerful Rome was and where their empire ended. After nearly 400 years, Roman rule in Britain finished in 410 CE. The Roman soldiers had to go home to deal with problems closer to Rome, leaving Britain open to new invaders. After the Romans left, tribes from Germany called Angles, Saxons and Jutes came to Britain and made their own kingdoms. This was the start of Anglo-Saxon England. These kingdoms fought each other a lot, and slowly Christianity spread across the land. King Alfred the Great, who ruled Wessex from 871 to 899 CE, is famous for fighting off Viking invaders and for encouraging education and reading. Viking attacks began in the late 700s, causing big problems for Anglo-Saxon England. These tough warriors from Denmark and Norway sailed to Britain and attacked monasteries and villages. They eventually took over large parts of England. The Danelaw, a part of eastern England, became Viking territory. The Anglo-Saxons and Vikings fought for centuries, and these fights changed the English language, culture, and even the map of England. In 1066, William, the Duke of Normandy, arrived in England and said he should be king. The Battle of Hastings was a super important moment in British history. William's Norman army beat the English army led by King Harold. This Norman conquest changed England in huge ways. William, now called William the Conqueror, created a new ruling class, brought in Norman French language and customs, and ordered the Domesday Book to be made, a giant record of who owned all the land in England. The Tudor period, which was the 1500s, saw England become a major power in Europe. Henry VII, the first Tudor king, stopped the Wars of the Roses, which were a series of nasty fights within England. His son, Henry VIII, became one of the most famous kings in English history. Henry VIII is famous for breaking away from the Roman Catholic Church. He wanted a son and wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon. This led to the English Reformation. Henry started the Church of England and made himself its boss, which changed religion and politics in England forever. He also closed down the monasteries and took all their money and land. Henry VIII's daughter, Elizabeth I, was a clever and well-liked queen. Her time as queen, called the Elizabethan era, was a time of explorers, expansion and amazing culture. Elizabeth I kept England safe during difficult times, defeated the Spanish Armada in 1588, and made sure England was a Protestant country. Famous writers like William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe lived during her reign, creating fantastic plays and stories. It was a golden age for English literature. In the 1600s, England had a civil war. King Charles I argued with Parliament about religion and how to run the country. This led to the English Civil War, which lasted from 1642 to 1651. The parliamentarians, led by Oliver Cromwell, won, and Charles I was executed in 1649. Cromwell created a republic, but the monarchy came back in 1660 with Charles II. The Glorious Revolution of 1688 made sure England had a constitutional monarchy, meaning the king or queen didn't have all the power and Parliament was more important. The 1700s saw the rise of the British Empire. Britain won wars and controlled trade, which meant they took over lots of land in North America, the Caribbean, India, and other places. The Industrial Revolution, starting in the late 1700s, turned Britain into the world's factory, with new machines making cloth, iron, and other things faster than ever before. This period also saw big social changes, with cities growing and new types of jobs being created. The 1800s was the time of Queen Victoria. The British Empire grew even bigger, controlling a quarter of the world's land and people, but there were also problems with a big difference between rich and poor people. People started demanding better working conditions, the right for women to vote, and other changes to make things fairer. The 1900s brought huge challenges. Britain fought in both world wars, losing many people and seeing its empire shrink. After the wars, the government created programs to help people, like healthcare and benefits. Many countries in the British Empire became independent, and Britain joined the European Economic Community in 1973. More recently, Britain has dealt with changes in the world's economy, society, and culture, and its place in the world. The Brexit vote in 2016, where people voted to leave the European Union, was a big moment. As Britain faces the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century, its long and interesting history continues to shape who we are and our place in the world.